I'm David Hawks, and we're on The Creators, and we're up in Roberts Creek, BC, one of the most beautiful places I'd say on earth. Sunshine Coast. I'm here with Heavy Mellow today, not metal, Heavy Mellow today. Ray Fulber, Suzanne Richter, Matt Watson, and Stephen Jack. And thank you very much for being on the show.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
We're going to listen to some music from you guys. And, you know, I got to say, a four-piece with 3.5 songwriters, right? Four. So first of all, how did you get together to find each other to do music? And also, how do you spread out so there's not one sort of person taking over the whole songwriting thing?
It's been pretty easy so far. I've seen Matt play in Gibson's at a jam night and loved his music. And about a week later, I went to the Gumboot, and he was working at the Gumboot, and I said, hey, you should let me play harmonica with you sometime. And Ray gave me Matt's album, Richest to Rags, and I listened to it and went, great songs. And then Ray gave me Sue's stuff, and I said, great songs, we should all get together and collaborate with songs. And we just started playing each other's songs to each other, and they fell into place like that. And same with writing. People come in with ideas, and it happens naturally, really fast.
And your songs also made it, so they also fell in love with your music.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Absolutely.
So do we.
Totally. Yeah.
So Ray and Suzanne, you guys played with Art Bergman and the Scissors years ago, and you owned Profile Studios, right, in Vancouver for many years. And you also, Suzanne, you had a video on Bravo. I think you had some success as a solo artist, singer, songwriter. You did very well. You also were in a radio station's contest. You guys got like second or third or something, second place, I think. And then Matt, you came from Ontario.
Toronto, yes.
And you were in a TV show briefly, and we won't talk much about it, but what was the show?
I was lucky enough to be on a reality television show.
How'd that work out for
It was
you?
great. It was great. Riches and accolades all around. It was good. It was terrible. I hated it.
But so you decided to come out west, and then you started doing your music, and then I saw you opening up for a great Canadian band, The Balconies, in town.
Yeah.
And so you had your solo project, and then now you're working together. This is great. And then now, Stephen, you were a lead singer for Rockhead. You sang in front of a sold-out Wembley Stadium.
We were fortunate enough to, when we were recording the Rockhead album, Bon Jovi was next door with Bob doing their album at the same time, and they asked us on the European leg of the Keep the Faith tour. So we got to go all over Europe with them guys and experience the big rooms. And it was great to do it with them because they were really nice to us. They treated us like gold, and it was a fun first experience.
So Suzanne, for you, how do you manage to keep the people, these three guys, sort of in check?
Yeah. I don't even worry about it. It's not my job. And I pretty much don't. But I just want to say that we have like a long intersecting history, because when we used to tour with Art Bergman, we would go through Matt's house. And I think
She's my auntie.
Oh, yes.
She's my
So
auntie.
you may have noticed the genetic similarity.
That's where I get my looks from. Yes.
So,
But I think we influenced him.
Unfortunately.
Put him down the path of music.
like, I like to think of this as like a songwriter collective. These three are great songwriters, all three are great singers. So it's been we're just starting to record here in the studio, and I'm really, I think that it's really a great feel when it comes together.
From all the sounds that you guys have worked on, big rock, stadium rock bands, punk, indie rock, singer-songwriter.
We all love singing, we all love harmonies. And from my point of view, we just sat down and started playing.
I think it's the harmonies, definitely. Like the three-part harmony kind of thing it's not a lot of people are still doing that, and it's got it really gives you a buzz when you hear three people singing together.
Yeah, well, we got high and we got low, we could not get it right. Yeah, well, you went left and I went wrong, so we were out of sight. just some passengers on pigeon wings. We're talking shit throughout the night. Baby, now don't you got no dancing, don't you got no dancing shoes. Yeah, well, you stood up and with them trees, and when she cut you down, yeah, man, everything's just finger deep. There's no soil in this town. Oh, you cut your wrists, you grind your teeth, till no one's left around. Baby, now don't you got no dancing, don't you got no dancing, don't you got no dancing shoes. We got so many miles left on them crooked feet. I won't miss the part where you tore that heart out of me. Yeah, well, sunset comes for everyone, but you may not agree. All the pirate ships and fingertips and love down by the sea. And though our flame burned quickly, girl, it sure felt hot to me. And now don't you got no dancing, don't you got no dancing, don't you got no dancing shoes. Yeah, now don't you? And now don't you? And now don't you got no dancing, don't you got no dancing, don't you got no dancing shoes. Yeah, now don't you got no dancing, don't you got no dancing, don't you got no dancing shoes.
So tell me a bit about the studio, and why did you want to create a studio here, Real?
Well, I had a studio in Vancouver called Profile, and then I got out of that, and then I had a studio in my basement in the house. Me and Suzanne were together in a house, and we had a studio, and the neighbors, of course, hate you after a while, and all that, and there's a restricted amount of space, and then there's just this time where we thought, let's have something we can stretch out in, and we looked up here, we looked around actually quite a bit, but we ended up here up on the Sunshine Coast in Roberts Creek, where there was an outbuilding, a separate building that we could turn into a recording studio.
Right.
And we've had a lot of people come through here and do house concerts.
Mindless Self-Indulgence played here.
Tim Hersey plays
plays here. Devin Townsend does some tracking here. So you guys get some people rolling through, and we'll show a clip of the view from here too. So if you wanted to come to a working environment to write music and get away and just focus, this is a great spot to do it.
The room's got good mojo. It just does. There's a good vibe in the room. It's half the battle right there. You're in the middle of a beautiful environment. And,
I mean, it is.
it's hard not to get into the music.
Right. You focus on your music and you can get as insular, or you can go for long walks if you want. It's great. Well, that's our plug for Strait Sound, but you got to do it because I think it's a gem. I think people got to use it. So if you're in Vancouver and you want to find a studio, and it's only, 50 minutes away by a ferry,
off the face of the earth.
Come up here and record at Strait Sound. It's awesome. So thank you very much, and thanks for coming on The Creators.
Took a train for you. Took a train so long. Wrote a plane for you. Wrote a plane so long. But ain't nobody love you like I do. Ain't nobody be no greater. Ain't nobody love you like I do. Been the same for you. Been the same so long. Been a change for you. Love is strong. Ooh, ain't nobody love you like I do. Ain't nobody be no greater. Ooh, ain't nobody love you like I do. Ain't nobody love you like I do. Took a train for you. Took a train so long. Got a plane for you. Plane so long. And change for you. And it won't take long. Rearrange for you. And love is strong. Ooh, ain't nobody love you like I do. Ain't nobody be no greater. Ooh, ain't nobody love you like I do. Yeah. Ain't nobody love you like I do. Ain't nobody be no greater. Ooh, ain't nobody love you like I do. Took a train for you. Took a train so long.
Welcome back, we're on The Creators. I'm David Hawkes, and we're here at Gallery Jones on East 1st in Vancouver with Paul Morstad.
Thanks for having me.
Your show is called The Sea is Satellite.
Yeah, the sea is a satellite.
Sea is a satellite. Can you speak a little bit why, first of all, you chose the name Sea is Satellite?
Yeah, you bet. When I was making this show, I really wanted to have a title that reflected my interest in both space and the oceans, which I'm really kind of focusing on in this particular show. And originally, I feel like the humans, the European explorers, were really interested in exploring the seas and finding out what was out there. And that's sort of been conquered. Like, we still don't know what's really down below, like in the deep, deep pelagic part of the ocean. But, you know, for the most part, we've mapped the entire seabed, and we know where the ocean currents go, and we know most of the life that lives there. Keep finding new species every day. But space is the new frontier for that exploration, and I wanted to have a title that reflected that. So I wanted to show how the space, the air space that we live in is kind of sandwiched between the ocean and space. And we live in this like thin atmosphere that allows us to breathe. And when we go into the ocean, it's inhospitable for us, and we have to swim or, you know, put stuff over our head and use submersibles. And the same is true when we go into space. So it's this feeling of as above, so below kind of thing.
I was lucky enough, and so was our cameraman Paul here today. We spent time in Africa, all the three of us. And what did Africa do to you for your work to have that extra connection that I seem to feel from your work?
Well, I was already really into animals and nature, and I was basically an amateur naturalist when I got to Africa. But then I stepped off that plane in Nairobi and my mind was blown. Like, we saw, within half an hour of getting off the plane, we saw giraffe and zebra just walking in a field. Like, we weren't in a national park or anything. And suddenly these animals that you've grown up seeing on Wild Kingdom and reading in National Geographic are right there, and you could almost reach out and touch them. In fact, I would often get like in trouble because I would jump off my aunt. I was there visiting my aunt, and I would get in trouble. I'd jump off her truck when we were on safari and chase animals across the plane because I was like, oh my God, this is so much fun.
Safe to say, by going to Africa, you've discovered for yourself you really are a naturalist, a zoologist at heart. Yeah. You're also a bird lover.
Yeah.
Although I don't see many birds in your work.
Well, in this particular round of pieces, I wanted to stay away from the birds because I was starting to get pigeonholed, pardon the pun. People were like, that's a good one. Yeah, people were like, oh, you're the bird guy.
Who's the artist that did famously the book of birds?
That's Audubon.
Is that
That's, yeah, John James Audubon. He made this book of all the birds of America, every bird that he knew of and that science knew of. And he would track them down, and he would shoot them, as many as he needed, so that he could get like a perfect specimen. So in that way, he was kind of a, you know, a naturalist, but he was like.
His turkey is probably, it's the first frame in the book.
That's right, but the thing about that book is it's about this big, the book, and each bird in that book is life size. So the flamingo, if you remember the flamingo, it's this bright pink flamingo. It's standing, but its head is bent down, and then it curves back up. And the bald eagle is in sort of a dive, and as you said, the turkey, everything in there had to be like really compressed to fit in there as a life-size animal.
So you got really lost in that when you were younger?
Yes. Audubon and National Geographic and David Attenborough was a huge influence on me too. He's like my, you know, folk hero.
Can you explain to me a little bit about the materials you work with in your process and how you hone it into such detailed work?
You bet for sure. Well, I worked at the National Film Board making short animated films for about 10 years, and I worked on tiny little drawings like this and would make them over and over again. So I really got used to working on a small scale. And as a painter, I didn't always work on this sort of scale. I used to work in oil and on a much larger scale. Right. So I felt that I wanted to kind of do some of this really detailed watercolor work. And in the process of doing it, I didn't want to take away from that detail by having really busy backgrounds. So I work on the sort of quite a minimal white background, and then sort of try to poetically fill it up with really important pieces around the painting.
What are some of the artists that influenced you, and what are some of the musicians that influenced you? Because you actually reference music a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Most of my influences are, I would say, are more from the science, like the science side of things and the antiquities. I'm not really heavily influenced by contemporary work or modernist work from the 20th century. But if I had to pick some from that time, I would say Degas and Gauguin would be the type of artist that and Toulouse-Lautrec, these kind of guys, because they were really heavily focused on drawing. Egon Schiele from Austria, he's actually would be a major influence on me, especially like visually speaking, but I wouldn't say on the side of content, they didn't influence me. I'm more influenced by the sciences and literature than anything. I'm really into storytelling.
Is there a moment that you remember that you thought to yourself, you know what, I'm an artist? And also, can you give some advice to people that might want to be an artist?
Yeah. Well, from a very early age, my mom really impressed upon my sister and my brother and I that we should draw and we should make work and paint all the time. And she always had paintbrush and pen and pencil and Lego and stuff to like really mold our minds into that sort of way of thinking. Even in high school, I was already fast tracking to the arts, and so was my sister and my brother as well. And I think there wasn't really a eureka moment. It was more like I felt like that was all I was really destined to do, and just didn't really even think of it any other way.
Did you find that there's a struggle with being an artist? They always say, you know, starving artists, I know there's the economics of that, but you know, sort of within your soul and your heart, is it difficult to be an artist sometimes and to have that perspective?
For the most part, if you're an independent visual artist, you're going from sale to sale or grant to grant or, you know, award to award if that works out for you. So that can be kind of a bit of a struggle. I did a lot of other manual labor jobs when I was younger. I was a tree arborist. I did house construction. I worked as a roofer. I did tree planting, many other things. And in each one of those instances, all I could think about was, how do I get back on track to being an artist? And I would, you know, drag myself back to art school and get a student loan and just, you know, suck it up and figure it out.
You're a graduate of Emily Carr.
Yeah, that's right.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
If I wanted to find your work and purchase some of your artwork, where do I find your work?
Well, you could find it on the websites of this gallery, Gallery Jones, which is galleryjones.com, or you can look at it on my website, which is my name, paulmorstad.com. And that's locally where you can find my work.
Great.
Yeah.
Do you have any sense of where you're going next?
That's a good question. I think I'm going inward. I think I might go microscopic.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
We'll watch for that.
Yeah, we'll go micro instead of macro.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Take care.